Hey, do-it-yourselfers, back working on the pretty car. Today we're going to replace our valve cover gaskets on this car along with the half-moon seals that go to the back of the valve covers. But not just that, I also have both of my oil cooler lines, and as you may know, these are a common place for leaks on these engines, and mine are leaking on this car, so we're going to replace these as well. All right, so first we're going to get started on the passenger side valve cover gasket, and in order to remove this, first we need to remove our spark plug wires. But before we remove our valve covers, we're going to get our air gun and blow and clean all around our covers so that dirt and grime that's around them doesn't end up in our engine. All right, next we'll remove our spark plug wires. There should be 6 of them. All right, next, in order to remove this valve cover, we're going to remove these fasteners. There seems to be 1, 2, 3, 4, there's 10 of these guys, and then 1 screw up top. And these guys are 11 millimeters. All right, next we got our tool handy. We're going to come over to the driver's side and do the same thing for this valve cover gasket. Same number of bolts and fasteners and screws. All right, next we're going to go around and remove what looks to be copper washers on these studs for our valve cover. All right, next we're going to remove the screw. There's going to be 1 on each side, and it's going to require a T30 torque socket. And you want to be careful with power tool when you're removing these. You can probably get away with removing them if you get in there deep, but tightening them, you should probably do it by hand. Otherwise, of course, when you're tightening it, you can over tighten it with the power tool and strip the inside of these bolts. All right, after remove those screws on both sides, we're going to use a small pry bar and get this valve cover disconnected from our cylinder head, and this is coming out pretty easily. There we go. So here's a closer look at our passenger side valve cover. As you can see, some of the old gasket material came off with the valve cover itself, but most of it still on the engine side, as you can see. So now we're going to take some time with our razor blade and get that old gasket material off, and then also clean it with some brake clean and some clean rags. Now hopefully, as you can see, I can get under it, and most of it we can hopefully try to get it out in big chunks, but we'll see. Actually, not bad. I think I got almost half of it. And again, goes without saying really, but you want to make sure to clean away from the inside of the engine so you don't end up with this stuff inside your engine. And oh yeah, you don't want to forget to remove the half moon seal that goes in the rear of the valve cover area. This is not going to want to come out without a fight. Here it is. We got it. All right, so it's 15 minutes later, and here's a look at our valve cover. I was able to use my carbide tipped scraper, which made life a lot easier, but of course, if I had a parts washer, this valve cover would be a lot cleaner. But hey, it's coming up. And here on the engine side, here's a look at where the valve cover goes. On the passenger side cylinder head, there's where the half moon seal will go. We're going to put the dab of RTV silicone where that half moon seal sits, and also a bit of RTV silicone on top of it as well. And that's the only area where we need to put RTV silicone. Basically, you put RTV silicone when there is unevenness. So, you know, bottom of that half moon seal and that little dip, that's obviously uneven, so you put some RTV there. On top of it, where the half moon seal is going to be meeting with the top of the cylinder head, that's going to be uneven, so you put some RTV there as well. The rest of it is, you know, it's super even, and, you know, our gasket will do its job and doesn't need any help. All right, now looking at the bottom of these half moon seals, it's highly unlikely we're going to leak oil from them, but anyway, we're going to put just a dab of our black RTV silicone, not in the middle, because that'll be covered by these ridges, but right at the edge, we're going to put some RTV silicone there, and then that edge will go on the engine side, so it will seal any oil seeping in through there. Yeah, pretty much like this, right around that edge. And then we'll go ahead and install it with that RTV edge on the engine side. So yeah, you want to put RTV where the cylinder head meets the half moon seal, because it's going to be uneven in this corner and that corner, so you just want to run a bead there. I kind of butchered this because I was trying to do it with one hand, you know, with the RTV, the other hand the camera, but I think you guys get the idea. All right, next we'll grab our gasket. We'll throw it on here. Got studs on that side that will keep it in place, and then on this side, these camshaft caps will hold it in place as well. And then we throw our valve cover on. Then come the copper washers. We don't want to forget those. And then these nuts. And we're not going to torque these all the way yet. We're just going to run them down by hand because we have RTV silicone back here on that half moon seal. if you torque this down all the way, that RTV silicone is just going to squeeze out. So, you know, you tighten down a little bit and you go from the center out, obviously. And then after we replace that side and also the oil cooler lines, then we'll come back up here and torque these down to spec. All right, now onto the driver's side, and things are going to be pretty much the same with one minor difference, and that's this air hose. That's for the air injection setup that this car has. So we're going to undo this clamp, pull this out of the way, and then we should be able to get that valve cover out. All right, so here's one clamp, and hopefully this hose is not too brittle and it's not gonna break on us, and no, it is not, so that was easy. All right, we're gonna tuck this away temporarily here, and now we'll get our valve cover out the way. Oh, we got lucky on this one. Most of the gasket actually came out with our valve cover. All right, so here's how things look on the driver's side. As you can see, we got it pretty clean. And here's the valve cover for that side. And it goes without saying, once you get the big chunks off, you can also use an angle grinder with a soft Scotch-Brite pad to clean these off as well. All right, same as the other side. We get some RTV on the outer or the inner edge of this half moon seal. And then some RTV up top. Gonna try to do a better job this time. I think that's an improvement. What do you guys think? And then we get our valve cover gasket for this side. First, we'll throw it on the studs on that end. And then this should slide in. Then the valve cover itself. First, we'll slide it on here. There we go. There come the copper washers. And then these nuts. And same as that side, you just get them snug by hand. Then we'll torque these down later. All right, so while we wait on our RTV, we're gonna raise her up and start on the oil cooler lines. And our oil cooler lives in front of the engine bay, right here. Here's a look. This guy is our oil cooler. Here's the oil cooler lines on both sides. And this thing is right next to our condenser. So we're gonna try to move this out a little bit so we can get a wrench on these nuts and loosen them without damaging our condenser. So we're first gonna actually remove this bolt, which is going to require an 11mm socket. Wow, man, this thing is on there. I think we might be just spinning in place. All right, you know what? We're not even gonna bother with that bolt. I think if we're careful enough, we can get those off without damaging our condenser. So that's what we're gonna do next. First, we'll give him a shot of PB Blaster. Then we'll grab our crow's foot wrench. I think we got it. Yep, this one's loose. Now this one is just a little bit more difficult, but still. There we go. And before we completely loosen them, we're gonna get our catch can underneath, and then we're gonna go ahead and remove them. There's one, there's the second one. All right, so here's a closer look at these guys, and now we go back inside on the passenger side to the oil filter housing, and the oil cooler lines are gonna be right above our oil filter. So we're gonna go ahead and loosen them and remove them from this side next. And it's just gonna be one bolt up top, by the way, of a bracket that's holding these two oil lines in. And once we remove that, we're just gonna keep track of which one is which. This one closer to us is gonna be the longer hose. And this is gonna be a 12mm bolt. There you can see the bracket move. Here's a look at the bracket that's holding him in. There's also a washer that just fell down. This guy right here that goes on top of it. All right, now we just pop these loose. Oh, and then don't forget your catch can. Here's a closer shot of them. So now we just wait a few minutes for them to drain out, and then we're probably going to have to remove them from up top. And just to give you guys a visual, these guys are sitting in like this. Our oil cooler is right there. And since these are metal in this area, we can't really fish them out that way. So we're gonna have to bring them up, twist them up, and remove them from up top. As you can see, this hood is sort of in the way, but here you can just reach in there. First, we're gonna get the larger one out. This. Oh, did not go as smooth as planned. And then the smaller one. Here, you just fish them out this way, like that. And then we put them back in the reverse order. So first, the smaller one, just make sure you have oil on your O-rings before you put them on. So we fish it in by the radiator. And then we just rest it on top of our oil cooler. And then the longer one. There we go. All right, so back underneath, you can see it was a successful fishing. There's that one, the longer one that goes first. Then there's the shorter one that goes on the other side. Now you might be saying, hey, wouldn't this be easier without this oil filter in the way? And you'll be correct, but as I mentioned earlier, after we do this, we're gonna start the car, run it for a few minutes, and then replace the oil and filter just to help get the gunk or the remnants from the gaskets from our valve covers out of the engine. And of course, as you can see, this is not like it's the most difficult job in the world. So we're gonna be okay, is what I'm saying. And then we'll install the bracket that's holding these guys in. And don't forget the washer. And then we'll tighten this guy down. All right, now back on the oil cooler side, we're gonna attach our lines. And I have to push this one up first to line it up with our oil cooler. There we go. And then we'll line up this guy. Now this shorter one is gonna be a bit more difficult, it seems. And I'm thinking it might have been a better idea to get this side in first. You know, actually this might be easier to get started from the side like this. Yep, I got it. All right, next we'll tighten these guys down. There's one, and here's the second one. And next with some engine degreaser, we're gonna try to clean up our mess. All right, now back up top, now we can torque everything down. And we're gonna torque these down to 9 foot-pounds. And we'll reinstall our spark plugs. Now same thing on the driver's side. Oh, and let's not forget the screws on top. Same torque spec on these guys as well. Of course, we don't want to forget this hose. All right, so next we would run the engine for a few minutes, check for leaks, and then if there are no leaks, we will replace the engine oil and filter. But since that's pretty self-explanatory, we're not going to get that on camera, but hey, this Jaguar project is coming to an end. All we need to do is to replace this window switch due to a short that I showed in my previous video and the fuse for it. And then also this headlight down here. And then from there, all this thing needs is a detail, and hopefully we'll also pass emissions. And from there, we can go on and list it and hopefully sell it and make some money. But yeah, if you haven't already done so and want to follow this project along or other projects that I have around me, make sure you subscribe, follow the correct playlist for each car that you're interested in. Give this video a thumbs up, hit that bell notification so you're notified when those videos come out. And I'll see you guys next time. Thanks for watching.